Spirit. On this third week of the Great Fast, the Church brings to us the feast of the veneration of the cross. And as you know, Orthodox Christians make the cross in so many different ways, upon themselves, in their homes, in their cars, whichever place they may be. And when you think about it, the cross in Orthodoxy, in Christianity, is not like some sort of advertising symbol, trademark, or anything like this that the rest of the world who have different faiths use. Like some use the new moon and different symbols of that type. Fat little guys, and you know what I'm talking about. However, we understand by the cross something far, far deeper, as we just read before, that to us the cross actually represents our life and our way into the kingdom of heaven. And it's only natural for people of flesh, like you and I, to try in our lives to maybe not run away from the cross, but at least to try and minimize the pain that it can bring to our lives, because by the cross we mean exactly that. We mean painful aspects of our life, which occur both physically, mentally, psychologically, and in all the constitution of the human being. There are ways by which one can suffer in different ways. Many people suffer physically, whether early in their life or later on in their life, through the numerous diseases and sicknesses which inflict us and can inflict us, and in most cases are the cause of death in modern society. Accidents, of course, take a lot, but there are some who, it seems, manage to live keeping their physical state in a rather, should I say, healthy way, and don't experience any particular sickness or anything like that. Does that mean that these people have escaped the cross? Well, the answer to that is no, they have not. There is such a thing as dying of a broken heart. Dying of a broken heart. And sometimes that is more painful than any of the physical sicknesses that we obtain in the world. What does that mean, a dying of a broken heart? Certainly, many of you know the sort of things that are happening in the world. The instigation of essentially a life no different and maybe even worse than that of the times of Sodom and Gomorrah, of times worse than when Christians were persecuted and when all of the fleshly power, fleshly pleasures that a human being can possibly experience are let free to reign, and in some cases even made as a law that these are the sorts of things that one should do in their life if they want to be a patriot of the country. Such an absurd and ridiculous idea, and you wonder, where is this pushed through in the government? Who actually instigates these sorts of things, pushes them through, and writes legislation to be enacted in the country about these things? Those who understand the requirements of Christian life, which is not given to us by human thought, not invented by the saints or people or anything like that, but is revealed to the church by God himself. Know that these things that are happening in the world stand very, very far away and continue to stand further and further away from the revelation that has been given to us in order that our souls may be saved. And when we see that happening, our heart breaks. Particularly if you have children or relatives or close ones who don't yet see that, or who have even rejected that and go along with the way of the world and all its decadent laws and decadent ways. When one experiences such things, they indeed have a broken heart. And this too is a cross, and sometimes a bigger cross, because always on your mind there is, what can I do to change my brother's way of thinking, or my daughter's way of thinking, or even my father's, or something like that. And continually, day and night, that haunts a person, and certainly it's a big cross to carry. But as we understand from that which is given to us, that everybody who enters into the kingdom of heaven brings with them carrying of the cross, in whichever form it might be. In sickness, in those things that I just mentioned to you, in accidents, in violent deaths, in war, and in all such ways. These difficulties in life are inescapable. And the more one tries to escape them, the more they seem to chase after us, and the more they seem to grab hold of us and try to drag us down. The whole idea being that we are attacked in order that we can say, what's the use of all of this? What's the use? If everybody has suffering like that and goes through all these difficulties, then what's the use? Why should I continue to be an Orthodox Christian and believe that these sufferings will bring me into the kingdom of heaven, when all the others have them also, and don't even want to believe that God exists, but on the contrary, if they do, even curse him for allowing them to have these sufferings with themselves. You understand, you have seen these sorts of things in your own life many times over, from friends and family and other ways, particularly from today, the ones that are put out to us as being leaders in the world. Some of the things they say are so contrary to the gospel ideal that you feel that your hair could fall out listening to them. And yet they're supposed to be our leaders. They are supposed to be the ones who teach us the right things in life, which has been revealed by God himself, who became one of us and actually suffered and showed how are we to act in those situations. And so we are brought on this day a reminder again of the importance of the cross, which I many times have said to you, occupies 3 major feast days during the year, this being one of them. And that cross being such an important part of our spiritual life that without it, we really can't go any further. It has these mystical properties that those who carry their cross with faith and with thankfulness learn a sort of theology. A certain understanding is given to them about the way things are in life. And I've seen many people who were very, you would call, unpious in their life, after going through periods of suffering and torment, come out to be model examples of Christian people and are able to talk about theological things very sensibly. Something is given to them. Something is given to them. And that something is to their benefit. And all those who do carry their cross with faith and hope also obtain these mystical things in different ways, each to the way that is necessary for them in their lives. And all of us need to be open to that sort of thing and not reject it, not throw it away and not try to run away from it, but to embrace it and thank the Lord that He has given us this particular cross that we have, or crosses that we might have, because they are the ones which do the real work of salvation within ourselves. We can spend months and months and months doing Jesus prayers and all sorts of cycle of services and hardly achieve anything, and yet a couple of weeks of bearing a heavy cross are completely changed. It shows you the power that this instrument has upon those who wish to believe. Not just a symbol that this cross represents that I'm an Orthodox Christian. No. It says that this that I have is part of my life and is changing me into the likeness of Christ. And that is a big thing, a much, much bigger thing than anyone can imagine. That the suffering and the difficulties in life, taken in the right manner, actually assist us in becoming Christ-like, which is what Christ came to do for us. When you heard the epistle reading just before the Gospel, it was quite clear that it said there that Christ took on the sort of problems and the sort of sorrows and the sort of difficulties that we have in our life, so that we can relate to him and he can relate to us. He is not a foreigner, not a invisible creature that we have no idea who he is or what he looks like or where he came from or what sort of life does he live. But he showed to us that he is indeed one of us, a human being like us. And he came to earth taking upon himself fallen flesh, not the flesh that we will inherit at the great resurrection, but fallen flesh, so that he too could experience the same sufferings and the same sorts of problems that we have in our life. And therefore, keep that in your life, in your hearts, and remember that that cross is not a vain symbol to just scratch on the walls or something like that, but is a living representation of the gateway into the kingdom of heaven for us. And each one has a unique cross that no one else has. Yes, by all means, there is nothing wrong in trying to ease it, but it has to be done in such a way that it's in line with orthodoxy. You can pray for the Lord to ease your cross and to open up things to you, but if you continue to have it, thank him for having it, because through that you will also obtain incredible theology that you never knew would be possible without even reading one theological book. God bless us in this struggle, because this struggle is given to us halfway through the Great Lent, so that when that one that came in the flesh as us is crucified and then resurrects, will be a prototype of what will happen to us also, as we are being crucified and awaiting the day of resurrection when that comes. And then we will have that new flesh, new body, and there will be a new heaven